I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like to make $30K per month with a small audience. But I have an ambitious goal to double my revenue this year, so I'm going to show you exactly how I got here and what I'm going to change to reach my big goal. Typically, I make about $30,000 to $40,000 in revenue in my business every month. And in the scheme of business, those aren't crazy, remarkable numbers, except for the fact that I have a tiny audience, like really tiny. Facebook is where most of my sales come from. I have about 3.6 thousand followers. I also have an email list with about 1,300 people on it, although only about 800 are really engaged. I'm showing you this because I don't want you to think you have to wait until you have a massive audience for you to start making a decent income online. This is the difference between being a business owner who works with clients and an influencer who gets paid on ads and brand deals. But let's take a look at exactly what I spent and received last month. This is my business checking account statement. My total revenue for the month was about $30,000, even though I billed $40,000. I have a few unpaid invoices that I know will get paid in the next couple of days, and my expenses for the month were about $15,000. This is my business checking account. You can see my income and expenses for the month of January. My first couple of transactions are from Intuit. This is my QuickBooks invoicing software. You'll see a deposit, which is the client payment, and a debit, which is the merchant fee. You'll see a PayPal payment. This is me paying for some contractor help. I also have a couple of Gusto debits, which is typically how I pay my contractors, and you'll see where my payroll comes from. Next up, you see a couple of deposits from Stripe. These are client payments for my group coaching program when they're on a payment plan and automatic payments are coming out. Stripe is taking the merchant fees out of the payment before it deposits it in my account, so you're not going to see those debits like you do with Intuit. You'll also see that I have a mobile check deposit. A couple of my clients actually still pay me by check, which is really nice because I don't have to pay merchant fees. On January 23rd, you see my biggest debits. One is for almost $2,500, that's my taxes, and one is for almost $6,000, and that's my payroll payment that I choose to pay myself as a salary. I do want to point out that I have actually two debits to my American Express. One debit is on the 13th and the other is on the 31st. I always pay the full statement balance of my American Express business credit card, and I don't usually make two payments. I did that because I was about to make a major investment in my business growth, and I wanted to make sure that I was starting with an absolute zero balance, not just a $0 statement balance. So typically I would have made that payment in February. My profit margins for January would have been a little bit higher, but it will all come out in the wash in February. Let me tell you exactly how I got here. Number one, I pretty much ignored all but one platform. By just using Facebook, I was able to focus my time, effort, and energy into building one really strong community. Number two, I was very consistent with posting on my platform. I post between 3 and 8 times a day on Facebook most days. There's a saying in marketing that top of mind leads to tip of tongue, meaning the more that people see you, the more that they will talk about you and refer you. My philosophy since day one of my business has been to take over their newsfeed, and I grew my initial copywriting practice to 6 figures in 6 months with that strategy. And now that I'm in coaching, it still works great for me. I get people reaching out in the DMs asking to work with me or referring clients to me. But something that I think is key here is the type of content that I post. My Facebook content is very edutainment style. I post funny things and generally things people enjoy, plus I cultivate inside jokes with my community. I just did it naturally on the platform without it being an intentional strategy. But as I've gone back and looked at my content, I think that edutainment style was actually the key that made people pay attention to begin with and kept people coming back for more and allowed me to build a strong enough community to have inside jokes. Number 3, I host regular conversion events. For me, these are free workshops. I give a ton of value and I make an offer. It just builds an influx of energy inside my community. I host mine in a temporary Facebook group that I only use for the workshop event. My events last 3 days and I discontinue the group after. Here's what I don't do. I don't send lots of DMs or prospect at all. I don't run ads or have any fancy funnels beyond a lead magnet. I don't have perfect graphics or a professional photo shoot in front of the Eiffel Tower. I don't even create new content every day. I repurpose, repost, and reuse a lot, although some of it's new. But if I'm going to reach my giant goal this year, I've got to do things differently. Doubling my revenue from 30 to 40K months to 60 to 80K months is not just about increasing my income. I'm not interested in changing my lifestyle. I don't particularly care about fancy clothes or cars or housing. This increase in revenue really represents more resources for me to increase my impact and reach more people. Because of that, I'm making decisions for this year based on what's going to increase my impact long term. So I'm prioritizing things like YouTube, even though I know it's going to take me a while before I really see an ROI on my efforts. If I was solely focused on generating as much cash flow as I can this year, I'd probably be investing this time into sales. But because my goals are more about long-term impact rather than income, I'm playing the long game. So here's exactly how I'm going to hit my ambitious goal. Number one, I'm focused on building my audience with organic content. I've made it this far on a tiny audience, and I truly believe you don't have to have a huge audience to make great money. But again, because my goals are impact-driven, audience growth is probably my number one priority this year. I've also invested in some team to help me stay consistent so that I can show up really consistently without losing my mind. Number two, I'm creating business automation. This way, my sales aren't so dependent on me showing up for live workshops, but rather I have a pre-recorded training that leads to a discovery call, which, by the way, is one of the simplest and most effective funnels you can implement into your business. Number three, I'm outsourcing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that's currently eating away at my time. This will free me up to focus more on revenue generating activities like building a community. Here's what I want you to do. If you're making less than what you want for your basic income, not your ultimate income, focus on one platform, one ideal client, one offer. Keep it really simple. Once you've done that, it's easier to build the bigger thing knowing your needs are met.